the 22nd One Book, One Region Kickoff event. Thank you so much for coming today. We are thrilled to host you at the Red Barn to celebrate this year's selection, Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. My name is Katie Nazarian. I am the Director of Library and Information Services at Mitchell College, and I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers today. Before I begin, some housekeeping items. There are restrooms at the back on both sides of the room, and please enjoy the refreshments. If there's anything that you need while you're here, please don't hesitate to ask. Many thanks to our sponsors for making this year's programming possible. Connecticut College, the Libraries of Southeastern Connecticut, Mitchell College, and of course, Bank Square Books, who is making copies of this year's selection available for purchase today. They're at the back. Thank you so much for being here. And you can also support this local independent bookstore at their new location at 80 Stonington Road in Mystic, or through their website, banksquarebooks.com. Okay. And I would also like to acknowledge the One Book, One Region Committee, including current and past members. I encourage you all, please stand up and be recognized. It really does take a village to produce the programming around the region to support this wonderful. To begin our program, I would like to invite Dr. Hannah-Attisha Martinez, Dean of Student Engagement and Belonging at Mitchell College, to formally welcome you to our campus.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Awesome. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Mitchell College and to our beloved community. As Katie shared, I am Dr. Hannah-Attisha Martinez. I am the Dean of Student Experience and Belonging at Mitchell College, as well as the Chief Student Affairs Officer. And it's really an honor to be able to welcome you all to our campus and to host this year's One Book, One Region Kickoff event. When I first spoke to Katie about this event, I wanted to learn more. I said, tell me a little bit more about what this event's about, more specifically. I heard of it, but I've never really been involved or engaged in it. She shared that One Book, One Region began in 2002 as a community-wide program designed to break down barriers, spark meaningful conversations, and deepen our shared appreciation for reading. In fact, Mitchell College hosted the first author event with Pete Hamill, and we are thrilled to renew our commitment to this initiative by hosting tonight's gathering. Yeah. So I do want to share with you that Mitchell College really is truly a great place for the One Book, One Region Kickoff, because our beloved community is a community rooted in acceptance and belonging. We honor the humanity in every person, meaning we recognize and respect the inherent worth and dignity of each individual, regardless of their backgrounds, beliefs, or circumstances. We strive to be a place where people find their community while being embraced as their authentic selves. One of the pillars of our beloved community is radical hospitality, the practice of making people feel truly welcome and included, again, regardless of background or circumstances. It is a way to break down barriers and create a more inclusive, compassionate, and connected community through the creation of spaces where everyone feels valued, heard, and included. This is the very heart of what One Book, One Region represents as well, using literature as a bridge to foster understanding and meaningful dialogue. So thank you all for being here, for engaging in this shared experience, and for contributing to the spirit of community that is so needed in today's landscape and makes events like this ever so meaningful. So I hope you enjoy the evening and the journey that this year's book will take us on together. Once again, welcome.
Very tall. I'll be adjusting the microphone a lot tonight. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Next, I would like to introduce Ann Campbell, who is the Adult Services Librarian at Groton Public Library, to share some history and background of the One Book, One Region program. Welcome.
so grateful to be here. I'm not much of a public speaker, but I'm very passionate about this whole initiative. I'm lucky enough to be one of the few people who was there at the very beginning. I was actually the Groton did one community read with the students back in 2001 that was incredibly successful. Thank you, Betty and Ryder, for starting. And then there was an article written by Steve Schlossberg. You remember him? He was in The Day. He used to be a columnist for The Day. And he wrote an article called "What the Area Needs is One Good Read." Never to be daunted, our director at the time, Betty Ann, said, let's do this. So we did it, and we, January 15th, with the help of Eastern Connecticut Libraries, a meeting was held in the library with a group of enthusiastic supporters, and the One Book, One Region program was born. Since 2002, a committee of librarians, educators, and interested community members has gathered to choose the one book for all Eastern Connecticut. The goals of the project are to bring people together, to discuss ideas, broaden the appreciation of reading, and to break down the barriers among people. We want people to read our chosen book, share it with others, and through related programming, learn more about a topic that they may not have explored on their own. The program has grown and expanded over 22 years, and in 2016, we joined forces with Connecticut College, who expanded the audience to college level, and we were able to bring Brian Stevenson with Just Mercy to Eastern Connecticut. And it made it snow in August, but there was snow in April that day, if you remember. It was a spring program, and there was snow, and snow in August was our first one. And you can have a list of all of the books that we've done over the 22 years on the One Book, One Region website. The selection varies, but we start with a committee of book lovers, and we throw titles out there, and we talk, and we decide, and the guidelines are that they has to be available on paperback. The living author, we're close with Fahrenheit 451, but we were able to Zoom him, Ray Bradbury, a living author who would join us for a public event and offer good programming and discussion possibilities. We always want to choose a book that you will enjoy reading, but over the years, books have also been chosen to expand our horizons, spark discussions, and inform us about topics that can be timely, historical, and most often universal. Immigration, the Holocaust, criminal justice system, coming of age, the opioid epidemic, the water crisis last year, and this year is no different. But the chosen books, both fiction and nonfiction, have introduced our readers to well-known, unknown, and first-time authors. Book discussions are offered throughout the region, again listed on the One Book, One Region website. And we do programming around it. We had a poetry walk during COVID, and we had Joy Marcha. We adapt to bring them to you. But the most important element of the program is our readers and the supporters who join us every year, connecting the libraries with high school and college and book clubs and interested readers around the region, all through the power of reading one book. I'm thrilled that Mitchel is here, is on board, and UConn every point, and it gets bigger. And this year's selection, I have to say, is one of my favorites, so I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Erica Smith, Dean of the College at Connecticut College, to share some information about additional One Book, One Region programming we can look forward to this spring. Welcome, Dr. Smith.
Good afternoon. Hello. Good job. Good job. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here and to see you all here and to be part of this partnership and relationship and ongoing program. Thank you for the lovely introduction and for everyone for being here for this wonderful time. It is my pleasure to offer welcome on behalf of Connecticut College as we are part of this partnership and have been since 2016. And I have been at the college since 2021, and we were just trying to unravel how many authors I've been here for and how many programs I've been here for. And it has been a really wonderful, rich experience for our college. So I appreciate and I bring that appreciation to the One Book, One Region team. So At Connecticut College, several sub-communities of our campus will engage with this year's book as they do every year. We had a history of having this be part of our first year read, and we've shifted to kind of include more members and more sort of entities on our campus. So we have lots of folks on our campus that are really excited each year about the read and about being engaged and having the conversation. So many folks on our campus will be invited, along with all of you, and along with all of our library partners, to be part of what we call the finale event. It will take place on March 31st on our campus at Connecticut College. We have a faculty member named Kendall Cooper in our psychology department who will moderate a conversation with Daniel Black when he comes and visits the region with us, which we're really, really excited about, and which he's really, really excited about. He's really excited to be here and be with us all. So I just want to encourage everybody to check back on the One Book, One Region website, and on their local library websites as well, for the local programming that's happening between now and then, and sometimes even after. There's some programming to kind of unpack and to revisit and to reconnect around, but we really do hope to see you on our campus on March 31st. And let's see if there's anything else. I think that that's all I have this evening. I think the one thing that I do want to note too is that I may have to leave partway through the program. And it's not you, it's my 6-year-old. But it's really lovely to be here, and I'm really glad to be here for as much of this program as possible, because it's a beautiful, wonderful, needed addition to the programming in this region. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Up next, Kimberly Poe will share a bit about this year's One Book, One Region selection. Kim is a library specialist at the Connecticut State Library, specializing in children's and young adult resources. She was named a 2023 Library Journal Mover and Shaker for her work educating libraries and creating inclusive collections. And she has been instrumental in developing programming around the All Connecticut Reads program, which included Don't Cry for Me as one of their selections in 2024. Welcome, Kim.
Hello, New Lemon. Thank you so much for the introduction. As you just heard, my name is Kim Poe, and I work as a library specialist at the Connecticut State Library as the Children and Young Adult Consultant. And if you're confused because we're here to celebrate an adult book, I can explain that, don't worry. My colleague, Ashley Sklar, and she was the Adult Services and Community Engagement Consultant at the Connecticut State Library, and I created a program called All CT Reads. And shout out to a former employee of mine. Hi Maria, didn't know you'd be here. All CT Reads is a program of the Connecticut State Library. It is a year-long initiative to promote lifelong reading, learning, and connection. The books are nominated and selected using a rotating committee structure, and by the end of the reading process, 4 titles are selected. What? Yeah. Their titles, 4 titles are selected for 3 age groups: kids, teens, and adults. As the youth services person, kids are going to be involved in everything that I do. In those age groups, 1 title is selected as the primary book of the year, and the other 3 are the shortlist. As a part of the program, we at the Connecticut State Library compile engagement resources from publishers, authors, news outlets, other librarians, to provide support to the groups who intend to run book discussions or classroom reads around any of the titles that we select. Our goal was to find a way to read together as a state. Not every book is for every person, which was the reason behind the primary and the shortlist model. It was the reason we chose to break the program into age groups. We wanted to offer avenues of literary participation in spaces big and small. We wanted to talk about inclusivity, culture, acceptance, mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors for the librarians in the room. And we wanted adventure and mystery and relationships, romance. We wanted book lists that looks like the ones that we've been able to provide for the last 4 years. And in 2024, the primary adult title was Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. I felt really proud that I'd read the book before it was selected, so I was like, cool. Look at me knowing stuff. The book, for those of you who know and don't know, is about a Black father named Jacob as he writes letters to his estranged son Isaac. And as Jacob lies on his deathbed, he's writing these letters. And throughout the books, readers are going to watch Jacob not only as he tries to explain his at times cruel actions. Readers are going to watch Jacob. Readers are going to watch Jacob as he begins to understand his past, the trauma it inflicted on him, and how it ultimately affected his family. The friend of mine who suggested this book to me, she started her suggestion with like, oh my God, this book is heartbreaking, it's just gonna destroy you, you gotta read it right now. And anyone who's a big reader, you know, they have heard that from a friend. You know, while it's true, it kind of wasn't at the same time for me as a reader. For me, there was something really revealing and healing in this book. It's so hard to explain. I wouldn't be surprised if other readers thought about their own families while reading Jacob's story and began to see how their parents' lives and their grandparents' lives and their great-grandparents' lives trickle down to directly affect their own. So while it's not often that anyone sees the face of someone from the State Library, we're here to support you as you learn about Jacob and his history through our engagement resources, through programs like Borrow at CT, which allows you to use your local public library card at any library in the state. There's 190 public libraries, folks. You can't throw a rock without hitting one. You can get this book. We also provide support through our new Palace app, which collates ebooks and e-audiobooks that are purchased not only by your local public library, but also by us at the State Library. You'll find not only a copy of Don't Cry for Me there, but other books by Daniel Black, including, I checked 2 minutes ago, the companion novel to this book called Isaac's Son, where we hear from Isaac himself. And all the other LCT Reads titles for all age groups. So happy reading, Southeastern Connecticut, and we hope you enjoy your journey.
Well, if I hadn't read it yet, I'd be really excited right now. But I am, because I haven't. I'm excited for all of you. So thank you, Kim. And thank you for coming all the way down to New London. Up next is our featured speaker, Mr. Kevin L. Booker Jr. Mr. Booker is the founder and CEO of Booker Empowerment LLC, established in 2007, specializing in training workshops around topics of leadership development, climate and culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He has been a dedicated and committed educator for more than 20 years, teaching at a wide range of schools, including high school, college, juvenile detention, prison, and adult education. Mr. Booker is currently a full-time visiting professor at Mitchel College and routinely invites others into his classroom. I've had the pleasure of being part of that many times, which may be what gave me the courage to stand up here today. Thank you, Mr. Booker. He has facilitated community conversations across the world on various social issues. He is a committed volunteer, spending time mentoring and supporting youth at schools in the community where he grew up. And he is a member of the Connecticut Mirror Community Editorial Board. You may have seen his piece this week about the library as his second home. I'm not done yet. Mr. Booker has 3 bachelor's degrees from Eastern Connecticut State University in Business Administration, History of Social Science, and Political Science, and a master's degree from Central Connecticut State University in International Studies. He is a former city councilor for the City of New London, where he oversaw public safety. Currently, Mr. Booker is a New London Parking Authority Commissioner and serves on the board, many boards of directors, including the Board of Directors of the Anti-Defamation League in Connecticut, the Isaac Charter School Board of Directors in New London, the Hartford Job Corps Academy Outreach Board, the School and State Finance Advisory Council, and the New London Community Meal Center Board of Directors. He is an advisor and instructor with the Second Chance Reentry Initiative program, also known as SCRIP, in Hartford. He is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc., the oldest Black fraternity in the world. He is also an author, co-authoring the book titled Emerging Men, Transformational Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Purpose. He is the founder of Men of Color Hike CT, an organization that promotes and encourages building brotherhood through nature. Mr. Booker is currently pursuing a doctorate of education at Johnson & Wales University in Providence and a master's degree in criminal justice at Fishers College in Boston. Both degrees will be completed in May of 2025. In his free time, he enjoys listening to music, reading, yoga, hiking, kayaking, traveling, and mentoring. The motto he lives by is, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Booker.
Let's give Katie Nazarian a round of applause, please. So good evening, everyone. Good evening. Buenos noches. Buenos noches. Bonjour. Bonjour. Bon dia. Bon dia. Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Ni hao. Ni hao. Memenjes. Memenjes. Dobre utro. Namaste. Namaste. Sawadi. Sawadi. Chawen. Chawen. Manga namu manga. Sopa Wanangsang. Assalamu alaikum. Privet. Guten Tag. And as they say in Hebrew, Shalom. Shalom. The reason why I start off in all those different languages is out of respect to the various cultures that are in this room. It is a privilege and an honor to be here tonight. It really is. I'm so proud of this event. One book, one region. Now, if you are on the committee for the One Book, One Region, I know we did it before, but if you can stand in case you came in a little bit late. All of you, stand, please. You're part of this event. And my faculty and staff, if you're here, please stand. All right. My future activists, my trailblazers in the room, all my students here, can you please stand? All right? When I think about this book, this incredible, insightful book, Don't Cry for Me, the first thing that came to my mind, I said to myself, why did Dr. Daniel Black write this book?
I write because I believe I was ugly. And I write myself into beauty. I write because I hated who I was. And God told me I wasn't fine. And shame had no place in the divine soul. In exchange, I promised God to tell the truth. The real, naked, glorious truth. That we are all gods, made in the image of the perfect, marvelous creation. I promise to tell that God is not concerned with flesh and blood, but with spiritual ecstasy shared between the living and the ought to be living. So with pen and paper, I set out with the duty of setting the world free.
I write that others might know their lives are not in vain. I write to tell gay brothers that are straight too. I shed light on the power of love and everyone's right to have it. I write to announce that without forgiveness, there is no liberty. It is absence and bondage of the spirit. Incarceration of the soul. Forgiveness is only the seed of transformation. It ushers you through the wilderness of chaos and pain, brushes and careless apologies without the weight of empty promises. It teaches you that no one can control your happiness unless you surrender.
I write because we hurt. I write because some pain can't be described. It can only be felt in the moral of the story or the lyrics of the song. I write for the boy who wanted to be a man but couldn't figure out how, or the girl who dreamed of beauty but inherited brains instead. I write that they might not give up the fight, that they might know that failures in some others' eyes, not their being, is in others' judgmental's heart, not their sacrificial or sacred difference. I write that they might live, that their stories might be holy and sacred, read by others standing at the cliff, weeping and trembling.
This is why I write, to strengthen the strong and fortify the weak, to sing praises to those who died for those who wouldn't, to pay homage to those who declared, I am black and beautiful, long before most others agreed, to say thank you to men who love and honor women, to bow before women who love and honor men, to applaud the few who love and raise children they did not birth.
We have not yet taken the risk to strip ourselves naked before the world and stand full of confidence in what it beholds. We are not yet sure of our divinity, not yet convinced of our holiness, not yet persuaded that we are worthy of heaven. We are not yet decided that, in our best, we are always enough.
There are triumphant stories to tell, unthinkable testimonies to hear, stories some don't want to read, but everyone needs to heed. Stories that celebrate transgender angels and bisexual prophets. Stories of people we threw away who could have saved us. Stories of broken hearts, broken promises, broken dreams, broken ribs, broken spirits. Stories of victories and achievements against the odds. This is why I write. I have to write, because America lies. It says black men don't love black men, and black children are inherently inferior. It says black women are fussy, naggy, bitchy, needy, shallow, and mouthy. Don't you see the lies? It needs these lies in order to boast itself the best country on the planet. That too is a lie, although it could be true if America ever admitted who built the place. But that, my friend, is too much true, and we all know what America does with the truth.
I write for imprisoned black souls, suffering for crimes they did not commit. Through words, I send them healing, reminders that the state can house their bodies, but not their spirits. I write to reiterate that every great person was once bound, either by the state or by themselves. Christ, King, Gandhi, Asada, Malcolm, for fear of what they knew, what they wouldn't do, what they might sacrifice for the world's freedom. I write because my grandfather couldn't. My father could, but wouldn't. My brothers can, but won't. There are more children coming, more ideas to birth, more words we haven't found. The word is life. It is blood in the imagination, food to the starving soul. This is why I write.
I write to remind us that every day without love is a day wasted. It is a sunrise dishonored, a breathless, lifeless existence that only the unintelligent can endure. I write for the insecure, the intent, the uncertain, the self-doubting, the woefully timid, the thick, the husky, the thin, the tentative, the spiritually collegiate, the emotionally puzzled. Through books, I seek to banish hatred and pursue its antidote. This is why I write.
We've crowned someone else our God. We've abandoned our ancestors in exchange for dollars but no cents. We've deserted dreams because others couldn't comprehend them. We've let daddy's failures and mama's shortcomings define who and what we are. But they, mama and daddy, were only hills and mountains to climb in order to learn how to climb, for heaven is a high place. I write that we might make a heaven instead of just simply waiting for one. I also write to encourage justice to fight on, to know that winning happens in many ways and sometimes it happens.
This is why I write. And all you have to do is read. Dr. Daniel Black. This is why I write. For my individuals who identify as a black man in America, what does it mean to be a black man in America? I'll start with you, Levante.
For me, being a black man in America, sometimes it feels a little scary.
For me, it's feeling invisible and sticking out like a sore thumb at the same time.
As a black man in America, the only thing I can say is something that a man wrote, and anyone that wants to look at it in their leisure. W.B. Du Bois wrote in 1908, The Double Conscious Theory. It talks about always having to worry about putting on a mask to mask your own emotions and hide your true inner self, where your words and your actions and your emotions or your gestures can be taken completely out of text and construed, where you're fighting to understand if you want to conform to the world you're expected to or listen to your inner heart. And that is, to me, my exposure to what's been since 1908, and I read that book numerous times, and a lot of those issues still are prevalent to today.
Very much what was said before, but in addition to that, being able to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
As I address you, do this one thing for me. Take a big inhale. And then exhale really slow. That feeling is ever so precious, especially when blue and red lights are on.
For my individuals who are standing here who identify as a woman of color, what is it like to be a woman of color in America, in this society that we live in?
As a woman of color and a black woman in America, in libraries in Connecticut, it can feel thankless. The world is asked of us. We're asked to fight. We're asked to educate. We're asked to organize. We're asked to save and be there to support and uplift everyone. And at the end of the day, we rarely even get acknowledged for the fact that that's asked of us. So it's a bit exhausting.
As a person of color, it is a beautiful but hatred.
As a woman of color, a black Creole woman from the South, being challenged on what you know because you may have more degrees in the room than other people, and being doubted on your intelligence or your aggressiveness, what's perceived as aggressiveness when it's directness.
To off of what they all said, being a woman of color in the U.S. and in the world in general, not only what they said, but we have power. And our voices have power, and I feel like being a black woman in America is powerful.
Let's give them a round of applause. Before they sit back down, what were three common themes that you noticed among all of them that were sitting here today? Three common themes that they shared about what it is to be them in society.
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Please, Dr. Henry. Yeah, absolutely. Sandra?
Underestimated.
Underestimated. Underestimated. I'll take 2 more. Please.
High expectations.
High expectations. Okay. Please.
The struggle to find your true authentic self and the world see you for that.
Yeah. Say that one more time so people
The
can take it.
struggle to find your true authentic self and have the world see you for that.
That's right. Okay. And I want to thank you all for your vulnerability tonight. Thank you for being your authentic selves. Let's give them another round. All right, I need everyone to breathe in and let it out. One deep breath in, let it out. Another deep breath in, let it out. Dr. Daniel Black. Don't cry for me. You see, when we think about the character of Jacob, you have to, when you talk about Black history, Black literature, you also have to go to the root of the generational aspect of things, how things are passed down throughout. So I'm going to just have you just imagine something for a minute before I transition into some excerpts from the book. Okay? I'm going to take you to a time what led to some of these themes throughout the book. Okay? Just imagine someone knocking on your door and kidnapping or violating your children in front of your very eyes, and you do not have any rights to protect your family. Just imagine knowing that literacy is the key to your freedom, but learning to read is prohibited, and you could be murdered at any moment if you were caught trying to read. Just imagine being transported on a boat, chained to hundreds of others, and in the midst of a storm, the captain decides to throw you all overboard to save his ship, just so they can have claims as an insurance policy loss. Just imagine a medical doctor going to a slave auction with the sole purpose of buying you to run experimental trials without concern for your well-being or potential death. And just imagine the urge for freedom and basic human rights coursing through your veins, pushing you to flee, only to be caught and subjected to amputation, castration, and or bondage around your neck. And just imagine walking in the dead of night through reptile-infested swamps, being transported in boxes, hiding in strangers' homes, with the North Star as your only guide, without the ability to read or write, but trusting in your heart that your hope and your faith will keep you alive and bring you to safety. You see, they were not allowed to dream because they were enslaved and they were property. So in this passage, in the beginning of this incredible, insightful book, Don't Cry for Me, by Daniel Black. He says, children of my father's generation were taught that dreams were a waste of time. Schooling happened only when there was no labor to be done. And that wasn't very often. And then he goes on and says, if they'd been allowed to dream, they might have expected sons who were not carbon copies of themselves. They might have imagined boys, all their glory, dancing before the world without shame. They might have granted a queer son permission and affirmation to be himself, regardless of the world's reaction. They might have known that some spirits come into the world to disrupt normalcy and thereby create space for the despised and the rejected. And they might have understood, finally, that every son is an eternal blessing if they had been allowed to what? Dream. If they had been allowed to what?
Dream.
In 1951, the great poet Langston Hughes, who is also, his parents and his family are descendants of the enslaved, wrote a great poem titled Harlem. And in that poem, he's digging deep into his roots. And he says in that poem, what happens to a dream deferred? He said, does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore, and then what? And then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust over like syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? You see, this incredible, insightful book touches on the transition of generations and what happens within the Black community as one generation moves on to the next generation and what freedoms they have as well. But it's a universal lesson on so many levels. And some of those things we're going to touch on throughout. There's a couple of excerpts I would like to share with you all. One is on sexuality and masculinity. You see, even this book and having the idea that Dr. Daniel Black was able to share something on sexuality and masculinity was not thought of in his grandfather's generation because they were trying to survive. I'm going to say that again. They were trying to what? Survive. Domestic terrorism. Not having the ability to read and write. Going to school twice a month. Only allowing maybe your oldest child or maybe one of your children will have the opportunity to be able to go to school. School was a privilege. Education was a privilege. So there's a passage in here where he says on sexuality and masculinity, your mother and I stopped touching altogether. She lost all desire for me. I got tired of begging her. So I went to others for my physical needs. It was unspoken in my time, but it was also not unknown. Your mother certainly knew. She warned me simply to keep that in the streets, being no piece of it into my house. I respected that. Perhaps she has someone too. I never asked. I doubted it though. Women were criticized for such behavior back then. Your mother was nothing if not publicly upstanding. Even her alcoholism, a term we didn't use, yet was mastered with great discretion whenever we left home. No, if she had someone, I would have known. At least I think I would have. You see, when we look at this book, we're also talking about generations and the complexity of what it is to be from a different generation. And as you're sitting here tonight, I want you to think about what was it like during your parents' generation? And what are you doing now that's different from your parents' generation? And what were some of the things 50, 60 years ago that was taboo during that time that your parents will look at today, or your great-grandparents or your grandparents may look at today and go, wow, I cannot believe they're accepting that type of behavior. So when we think of Dr. Daniel Black's book, we also see a lot of common themes throughout the book. And another theme that I would love to touch on throughout this incredible book is death. Because death is throughout this entire book. And in the book, he touches on death and forgiveness. Because many of us harbor that bitterness until sometimes for the rest of our lives at times. Because we deal with, can I really forgive this person for what they did to me? And then this book is throughout the book. I don't want to give away the book too much, so like what happened in the book is such a great book, and I don't want to share all the juicy stuff in here. Okay? But I want to leave it to your imagination, and hopefully you will read it if you have not read the book yet. Okay? But I will read this other passage from the book here. All right? I realized how much I loved your mother the day we buried her. She outgrown me over the years, but I still loved her. I thought at times that I despised her, but I didn't. No other woman had ever occupied my heart. The night we spent together in the hospital, my original adoration resurfaced. I wanted to take her in my arms and kiss her and ask her to trust me again. I've been a fool, I might have said. No one else has ever made me happy. At the funeral, death teased me. I didn't see her, but I didn't sense her. Small whiffs of air, like breath, grazed my neck each time I rubbed it. I heard faint laughter. Later, she told me it was her. We've become friends over the years. She saw my day coming. She said, and wanted to get acquainted before. I have to trust her. We spent quite often now. She said she never understood why her presence saddens others. You see, sometimes we take people for granted. It's what Dr. Black is alluding to in the book. But sometimes we have to get to a point where we don't wait so long until something happens. Earlier, Kim really expanded on the book of what happened with Jacob and Isaac. You see, Jacob is on his deathbed rehashing what his life could have been like if he would have made certain changes throughout his life. And a lot of us in this room can relate to this because this is a universal theme on so many levels. In a few minutes, because of time's sake, I'm going to break you up into small groups. One of the themes throughout the book is spirituality. Spirituality, one of the questions I want you to think about is, what questions are you battling with when it comes to God? How do you hold on to hope when you are going through challenging times? Dr. T's there, and my individuals who are with their signs, if you can go back there now, and they're going to hold up the signs, okay, and they're going to spread throughout the room. The next one is death. What loss are you still grappling with? And what has helped you heal through the loss of a loved one in the past, because we all have dealt with death and the loss of a loved one and still grappling with that eternally. And that's something Dr. Black also sheds light on throughout the book. And then the other one that's throughout the book, another theme, parent expectations, is what is getting in the way of you from embracing your children for who they are truly becoming. Because Jacob had expectations of Isaac. He wanted Isaac to be a man's man. But Isaac became his own man, his own human being. And all of us in the room have certain expectations of that child that we love truly and dearly with all our heart and soul, of what we expect, of what we expect of them when we brought them to the world and raised them. And then the fourth one, generational trauma. What trauma has been passed down within your own family? And what generational curse do you need to break in your lifetime so the generation is less affected by it? Because in this book, you see a lot of generational trauma that's passed down. My grandfather was like this, I'm like this. Isaac, you gotta be a man's man. Boys don't kiss boys. Boys, we work in the field, we work hard, we support our house. The generational trauma. The next one, gender norms, is another theme throughout this book. Have gender norms and roles shifted in our society? And throughout this book, you also notice woman's place. His Jacob's wife, she wanted to go to college. However, she wasn't allowed to go. And we have the bitterness that goes on. Have gender norms really shifted? Are we still at a point where things have not shifted as much? And why? Okay? And then another question, forgiveness, another thing. What is something in your past or currently that is difficult for you to forgive? And have you experienced forgiveness from someone that you never expected? Okay? So I'm going to have Levante, you can go over here. Okay, Hudson, you come right here. James, you have the sign of death. All right, Linwood, parent expectations. They have the questions there too. They're going to guide you through it. And Dr. T, you can come over here near, right over there, in that corner there, near Wayne. Yep. And we got generational trauma back there. Mrs. Nieves. Okay. So what I want you all to do, because the reality is, Dr. Daniel Black is calling us. It's not just a black struggle, a black lesson, right? That is the theme, because he's a black man. But at the end of the day, it's really a universal lesson, universal themes. It's the core of this book. So if forgiveness is something that you really want to touch on and talk about in your life, then you'll go to that corner. If spirituality is something that you're like, I need to have a conversation about this, then you'll go to this corner here. If parent expectations is something that you're dealing with, where you're like, I have certain expectations of my kids, my grandkids, my children, but things did not pan out the way I thought they would. And right here, death. I know in 2023, I lost 10 people. 10 people very close to my heart and soul. Very challenging for me. Okay? Might be something you're still grappling with. Or it's generational trauma. Or it's gender norms, as we all know in this room. It's still a major issue in our society as well. Okay? So we're only going to be 6 minutes within these groups. All right? And then after that, we'll close out. You guys can all stand up. decide which subgroup you would like to move to. All right, give you 20 seconds right now.
That's right. That's right, just beads and food. Gender norms. Hello, absolutely. We are going to talk about gender norms. And I thought everyone was coming to come over here. They're afraid to
So this is all the deaf group?
Just joints in there.
It used to be a 2-year. It used to be a community. Now we're 4-year.
4-year for everything.
And though I choose to forgive her, she's still not a part of my life. And I choose to forgive her, so I can let her go.
Really far away from here, and ever since then, my walk has just grown really stronger with him ever since then, and now I'm a freshman in college, second semester, and I can say that that's a difference. Yeah, thank you.
You gotta write it down for me tomorrow.
Technician Albert, and it's hello, and the whole thing is hello all with my relatives.
Oh, wow. Show me, write it up. Yeah.
And if you get run down, you're called emotional.
Hey, 4 minutes.
Just not as strong as
That's what we're So this is what I'm saying is that women are perceived differently. Those women.
On gender norms. John.
I'll say gender norms have changed over time in that women were given freedom, but there's like more men in the workforce, but women have given the opportunity, freedom to become stronger than males.
Thank you.
In the workforce.
All right, so I'm gonna have you say it again because that was really powerful. Okay?
I believe gender norms have changed over time. There's still more men than women in the ratio in the workforce, but women were given freedom to become stronger than men in the workforce, and they've mostly helped us grow the economy in our country. And it's very, very grateful for that the women have the ability to build careers and all that stuff.
That's right, women are extraordinary. Let's give a round of applause for gender norms over here. Okay? I'm gonna take you through this group here on generational trauma. Something to take away from your conversation. Anyone who'd like to share? You got Alex?
Well, some of the things that I've learned from like generational trauma is like based on like the type of experiences that people had to go through over time through their generation or through past generations as well, and how they're able to use that to be able to properly overcome that and to be able to live their life as it is, to live their life their way.
Good. Good job, Alex. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Last someone over there, maybe a little bit more seasoned or golden, who would like to share on this conversation. The generational, I know. No? Okay, they're taking a step back on this one here. All right, let's give it a round of applause for generational trauma. All right, now I'm coming over here to Jeff. All right, is there anyone over here who would like to share a takeaway?
I would say cherish the moments you have with your loved ones because you never know where they're going to go.
Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you. Do I have anyone else over here that would like to share? Okay.
something as universal as death, you have to connect with people who are alive, and you tell their stories, and that's actually how you get over it. It takes a lot, but if you share all of the stories of your life, if you share the funny stories, the bad ones, everything, it's going to help you get over grief. It's going to help you connect with other people.
That's right. Awesome. All right, now I'm moving over here to parent expectations. Okay, this is an interesting group here. Going back to Dr. Black's theme here throughout his book. Okay, who would like to share a takeaway from your conversation? Oh, there we go. Okay.
We talked a lot about generational expectations, how our parents had expectations for us, some of us from the 60s, the boomers.
That's right.
And also how it made a difference where you fell in line, or whether you were the oldest child, or that you had more responsibility, that it was kind of up to you to kind of set the example.
Wow.
And I remember my parents, if the rest of the crew wasn't behaving, it generally fell on me being a poor example. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But in a way, it sort of prepared me for, as I stepped further out, as a woman, particularly because I was already behind the 8 ball.
Whoa. All right. I forgot to mention too, if you hear something that resonates with you, snap your fingers. Okay? Yeah, that's something you connect with, you're like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Okay? All right, anyone else over here? All right, so I'm moving over now to forgiveness. This is something that this is something we all deal with. Okay, you're already ready.
We talked about a lot of different sides of forgiveness, but I think one of the things I'm going to take away from this was one of the last statements that we talked about, which was made by this brilliant young man right here. He started to talk to us about faith and how the Lord forgives, and we see that, but it's much harder for ourselves to forgive and for other people to forgive. So I thank him for that final thought.
Wow, that's awesome. That's beautiful. Anyone else? Monte, you good? Okay. All right. Now we're moving over to our last group over here. Spirituality. This is a pretty big group here too. All right. Anyone like to share, takeaway from your conversation? Okay. Awesome.
We talked about a difference between organized religion and spirituality, and how sometimes they're not the same thing. You can get something spiritual out of nature.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not getting that in the church.
Mm-hmm. It's well said. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay. Anyone else from this group? Is that it? Okay. So we talked about all these different themes. We're dealing with death, generational trauma, gender norms, parent expectations, forgiveness, spirituality are all themes that are connected to Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. It's a universal lesson. It's just not about the Black struggle completely, because we're all human beings. It's all interconnected at the end of the day. So what I need you all to do now is come over this way, come right in this little area here, please. Bring yourselves together right in this little area. Yep. As we get ready to close out. Okay. Awesome. And Linwood, thank you very much. Yeah. Let's give the facilitators a round of applause. All right, just by a show of hands before we close out, how many of you have read the book Don't Cry? Okay. So it's about, roughly about, I'd say about 40% in this room. How many of you now are interested in reading it? Okay, fantastic. Awesome. right there in the back. And you can also go to my second home, which is the library. Okay? And just also take it out that way as well. But the most important is take time and definitely read this incredible book. Now, the reason why I have you all here right now is because as human beings, we typically walk in a space like this and we just sit down, we go to ourselves, we leave, we exit, and then we never really connect with other individuals. We do that, especially in me. That's how I work all my life. Okay, so what I need you to do, and this is sincere because we're all struggling. We all have our own things that we struggle with, all right? Just literally go up to someone that you don't know and just say, hi, how are you doing? What is your name? 2 or 3 people, okay? Because even though this is one book, one region, this is also about connecting with individuals who are like-minded, being here, uplifting our community. We're from different parts of this region, coming together as one. And you could be anywhere tonight. It's a Wednesday night. Okay? You could be like me, watching Netflix right now. Okay? But honestly, yes, that's right. So I just honestly want you to just connect with someone, 2 or 3 people that you don't know. We gotta step out of our comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. All right? So thank you so much. My name is Kevin Jr. It's been a pleasure.
What brings you here?
Oh, wait a second. Michelle, we're going for a ride too. Stephanie.
Tell them who you are. Hi, Laura Hopefully. I've been with One Book, One Region since day one. I'm also a member of Waterford Rise Residents for Inclusion and Social Equity, so that's what Stephanie was referring to. We are a nonprofit organization working to ensure that our town becomes a community in which the innate dignity and worth of each individual is respected and celebrated, one in which each person feels welcomed, included, and valued regardless of how they self-identify. I'll be facilitating a discussion of this book at the Groton Public Library in March, and I and other Waterford Rise members will engage in a discussion at the Waterford Public Library also in March. I loved this book. We see in Jacob's letters the damage he has suffered from having isolated himself from the ones he loves, from not opening his mind and his heart to them. Through his letters, we feel his pain and torment, but we're also with him as he begins to grow and heal. What precipitates that healing is a book. Jacob says, the more I read, the more I saw myself. Knowledge is a funny thing. It informs by exposing. It shows you precisely how much you don't know. In other stories, I noticed how similar we all are. Everyone wants the same things, and everyone struggles with the same things. In some ways, this book is about the importance of connection. In the end of the book, we learn that Jacob's friend Charlie is suffering a similar pain alone. Jacob knows he could comfort him, and perhaps find solace himself in the exchange, but he hasn't built the capacity to do that. What a joy he may have felt had he just reached out. Today, particularly in this climate of uncertainty, we must all build the capacity to connect and reach out. As Kevin said, connecting is so important. Now more than ever, we must be aware and supportive of the threats our LGBTQ plus community, our communities of color, and our immigrant communities are sensing. It's essential that we be informed, open our hearts, and reach out. And please, as DEI offices are being dismantled and access to information is threatened, work to open your own mind. Keep reading, stay empathetic, and connect with organizations like Waterford Rise. I hope you enjoy this beautiful book and that Jacob's story brings understanding and perhaps healing to you. Thank you all so much for your commitment to reading.